Now, former President Jacob Zuma is fighting the decision that he should return to jail. This puts the Department of Correctional Services between a rock and a hard place. According to the ruling, Zuma must serve out the remainder of his 15-month sentence, and the time he spent out of jail should not be counted. Well, watching this story for us as it develops is Siphamandla Goge. Siphamandla, good afternoon. What's the latest you can tell us about this? I wonder what the position of correctional services would be. You spoke to them a little bit earlier.
Indeed, I spoke to Singabako Ngumalo, who speaks on behalf of the Department of Correctional Services. He's still inside this building that my colleague Sihengite will show you. Singabako Ngumalo and other officials of the Correctional Services are busy here with a certain program of the department. They are in Guamash, where inmates are in the house. He had to try and look for Ngumalo so that we can get a sense of what is happening, what is their reaction here. He says to me they are studying the judgment, their legal team is studying the judgment, they will advise on the next course of action. But there are two possibilities and there are two options really. It's either to appeal that decision or not to appeal that decision. If they appeal that decision, it will buy them time. The former president will not be expected to report back to prison. But if they decide not to appeal that decision, they don't have time. They would not to take him back to prison. So according to Singabako, they are trying to go through the judgment so that they will establish in terms of grounds that they will use to appeal this judgment. Already the Jacob Zuma Foundation has indicated that the former president will be appealing this because he believes the decision is wrong. That's not surprising. There was no way that former President Jacob Zuma was not going to appeal this judgment or this decision. If you look in terms of all his legal troubles and legal woes, he has always exercised his constitutional rights of appealing whatever decision he is faced with, or should I say the majority of judgments that may have gone against him. He has taken his decision to appeal those. So the former president is appealing, but at the center of this, the main stakeholder and the main player here is the Department of Correctional Services, simply because the former National Commissioner there, Arthur Fraser, is the one who took a decision to release the former president on medical parole. Earlier on, Singabako Ngumalo saying to me it was not an individual or personal decision by Mr. Fraser, but it was the decision of the department and the institution, so therefore it cannot be apportioned to one individual. When I asked him whether they had consulted with Mr. Fraser, because he's the one who decided to place the former president on medical parole on the eve of him leaving the Department of Correctional Services. So the department says they will communicate once they are done studying the judgment, and they will announce the next course of action.
And I guess that next course of action will also be influenced, as Siphamandla, by the decision of Jacob Zuma's legal team, as you've said, for leave to appeal. They've already submitted the application for leave to appeal, according to the JG Zuma Foundation. As you've said, we've heard that. And they believe that the judgment is clearly wrong. As they say, there are strong prospects that a higher court will come to a totally different conclusion. So the department is going to have to weigh that as well, the fact that there's now an appeal in place as to how it actually responds. Because ordinarily, Siphamandla, correct me if I'm wrong, when there's an appeal, the process remains where it was at before the ruling of the court until that appeal is heard.
Indeed, the fact that the former president has indicated that he will be appealing, he has indicated that he will file or he has filed, that alone tells you that the process now will have to be put on hold pending the finalization of the appeal. So for now, the former president has decided to buy himself more time. He will not be expected to report straight to prison as we speak. But also, the department here are the ones who need to take a decision and act, because they are the ones who've been ordered by the court to send him back to prison. He is still under their care, under their supervision as a medical parolee. They still monitor his movements, so he still belongs to them, quote unquote. So therefore, it is the department here that is at the center of this litigation, and they are the ones who would need to decide what happens moving forward. Yes, the former president is appealing as the former president, but the Department of Correctional Services will have to take a decision, communicate that decision, act on that decision as to what they are doing about that. And the likelihood is that they will definitely appeal this because it has got some political implications, but also for the department, it simply means thousands of other parolees. There are certain cases that may be affected by this. Former President Jacob Zuma's medical parole is a high-profile case, but there are thousands of other ordinary cases that may be affected by this. So therefore, it's in the best interest of the department to go through the judgment, find whatever loopholes they may find, and come up with grounds on which they will use to appeal, because it's not only about former President Jacob Zuma, but this judgment is surely and definitely going to open floodgates for other cases of medical paroles that have been granted by the department itself.
And Siphamandla, just, surrounding this case, before I let you go, there's also been concern about threats of a possible backlash. July still looms large in our minds here in South Africa post the arrest of Jacob Zuma. What are you picking up? I know you've got your finger on the pulse on the ground in KwaZulu-Natal since this news broke of the court ruling, and now, of course, in the last short while, the news of the appeal that's pending. While we await for a proper, considered statement by the Department of Correctional Services, what's the temperature like? Are you picking up any kind of sentiment that's saying we will resist any move to send Msholozi back to prison?
I'm picking up a mood which says there are concerns about what is happening. I've been putting through calls to supporters of former President Jacob Zuma. They say, well, this judgment is a big blow. They are criticizing the judgment as to be expected. Even the July incarceration of the former president, they criticized that one. His supporters are adamant that they will continue to show their support, but they will meet and strategize on the way forward. Now, in terms of political circles in KwaZulu-Natal, we are picking up a sense of mood that is concerning in terms of what those who are political allies of the former president are saying. They are saying, well, this judgment is problematic. Well, to some people, it is being viewed as being quote-unquote counter-revolutionary. That's what they are saying. But that's a standard political line they've been maintaining all along, ever since the legal wars of the former president started. As we speak, the Provincial Executive Committee of the eNCA in KwaZulu-Natal is meeting in Ladysmith, but that meeting has got nothing to do with the former president. It was an ordinary PEC meeting designed or convened to assess the performance of the eNCA in the local government elections, as well as the upcoming regional conferences of the eNCA in KwaZulu-Natal. This coming weekend, there are 3 regional conferences that are scheduled to take place in KwaZulu-Natal, but PEC members, most of them attending that meeting, have raised concerns about this judgment. They are concerned that, well, it is going to further divide the already divided ANC, the already weak ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. With the July unrest, the leadership of the ANC in KZN was heavily criticized for not doing enough to show support to the former president. It's something that Siphamandla Goge, the chairperson of the ANC, as well as Mtumseni Ntuli, the provincial secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, dismissed. They lobbied the NEC of the ANC to say, please allow us to show support to the former president. He is facing legal challenges. He is one of our own, quote unquote. But the mood currently in KwaZulu-Natal in terms of political circles is that those who support the former president say they will be meeting and they will be strategizing on the way forward. But I can tell you that will mean some concerns now for the security cluster in KwaZulu-Natal, which was found wanting caught napping in July during those unrests. The issue of intelligence gathering right now. We cannot run away from the fact that the former president is still a dominant political player in KwaZulu-Natal. And with the July unrest, which started, by the way, as a grievance from his supporters, yet later on hijacked by criminal elements who've decided to loot. But those unrests started by a group which was aggrieved in support of the former president, saying he cannot be incarcerated. So with this judgment now, those who are in the security cluster are concerned, and they are back-to-back meetings now to prepare for any eventuality.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see what's happening. And for its part, while the ANC in the province, Siphamandla, is meeting at the national level